Hi, my name is Fred Newman. I'm the owner of the View Camera Store, and today I'd like to talk about for those photographers, do-it-yourself BTZS film testing. What you're going to need for 4x5 film testing is the Stouffer's 21-step tablet. And I use an 8x10 step tablet for doing, find it here, an 8x10 step tablet. I use that for roll films, and I use that for 8x10 film. And what I do for all the other sizes is I make little masks, like I have these two pieces here, if you want to do 4x10. So I just tape it like here, and then I use this to expose 4x10 film. And you can, next time you go to the supermarket, if you want to do this, just ask for paper and not plastic. These are made from supermarket bags. And the same thing, I have a mask for 4x5. I just stick the 5x7 rather. I stick the 4x5 step tablet in a paper mask for 5x7. And if you're doing 8x10, you can cut out a sheet of 8x10 from the supermarket bag, put a little hole, and use some magic tape around the edges, and you could use that for your contact printing. The contact printer I use for all my film testing is a Patterson contact printer. Now it has a very large area here, and you can see how nicely the 8x10 will fit if you're going to do up to 8x10. Now the thing is, I don't think you want to buy an 8x10 step tablet because they're over $100. So if you're doing 4x5, a lot of different sheet films, and you're doing roll film, what I'd recommend, I'm going to simulate this using an old film test. What I'd recommend doing is trimming, since this is 4 inches here, just trim it at the 2-inch mark. And then line up your numbers so that you've got 1 through 11 and 11 through 21 here of the 21-step tablet. And when you put it all together with some Scotch magic tape, it should look like this. This would be for roll film. Now for sheet film testing like 4x5 or any of the mask versions, what I usually do is, in the dark, I'll count out 5 sheets of film and I put them in a paper safe. And I've got a little film box over here to keep them in. I'll take a film box here, and I'll also put that in here. Okay, so in the dark, what I'll do is I'm going to take a sheet of film out, make sure I got the emulsion in the right place, put it in here, and then I'll just click my timer and I'll make an exposure. And I'll do that for all 5 sheets, and then again in the dark, all the sheets will be collected in the little film box. And remember, it's a triple box, so you want this one with this one on top. And this one this way. And then you can turn on the lights. So all that's done in the dark for sheet film. And it's real handy to use that paper safe to keep it while you're working with it. Now let's think about roll films. You probably noticed a piece of tape that I have marked on here. That's my guard for when I'm doing roll film testing. So what I'd recommend doing is taping your step tablet that you just made up, and make sure when you see it that you can read the letters in the correct position. And basically just take some masking tape and tape the step tablet down. So this is for roll film testing. And what I'd recommend is having an empty film box to keep the film in. For 35mm film, I recommend just trimming it before you do your exposure, and then trim the corners. So therefore you've got a trim that it's easier to load on, let's say like the Jobo reels. Makes it easier. And then again in the dark, we're going to open up the entire roll. In the dark, I've taken all the film out. Now what I'm going to do is take this film, put it emulsion side up, and you've got your tape guide right here, so you can position it like right about here, and then just push it down. And then this part you can cover it with the box, and then you can click your little foot switch for your first exposure. Okay, after the first exposure, I take a little clip so I know how much film I've used. Don't forget, this is just for film testing, so if there's a little scratch, it's not going to matter. And what I'm going to do is roll up the roll. Takes a minute here. And all this again is done in the dark. And doing roll film just takes a few minutes. Okay, so I'm all rolled up, and I'm going to make a second exposure. So again, I'll place this under here, match it up with the little guides, and this is easy to do in the dark with this. And then cover it up, make a second exposure, and then again in the dark, put your clip on here, and then roll this up again. So that's what you're going to be doing in the dark, and you do this for 5 rolls. Okay, now we're ready for the third exposure. Just put it under here, and then you can make your last exposure. So on a roll of 36 for 35 millimeter, you're going to make 3 exposures. If you had a roll of 24, you would make 2 exposures. What I meant to say before is, where you have the numbers on the step tablet, you want to put them near the tape, so that when you're exposing the film, let me turn this around, and you're using this as a guide, your film and the numbers are recorded on your film pretty much. Even if they're partly there, it'll give you an idea. So this way, if you use this as a guide, you've got your numbers here, you'll see the numbers on your test negatives. So that's another recommendation. And if you're doing 120 film, of course you'll have to load it on a reel in the light, and then turn off the light, and in the dark, you'll reel it up to where you get to the film, right here, and then stretch it across the bottom. And again, line it up with the tape. I'm just using a roll of old film, so I'm just simulating what we're going to do. And again, this is done in the dark. And you're going to cover this half, and then make your exposure. And then once we're done exposing, what I do is I take this again, my little clip, and I know how far to wind it up. Things get a little messed up when I'm doing a demonstration sometimes. Wind this up. Make sure it's tight. And then again, we're still in the dark. Make your second exposure, and that'll do it. Make one more exposure. Hit your foot switch. And then we've made an exposure, and then wind this piece up, and you're all set. So let me just wind it. So for 120, you're going to make 2 exposures. And for all the film testing, you're going to do 5 exposures. And it's a very simple procedure. When you're going to do the processing, it's going to be 1 at 4 minutes, 1 at 5.5, 1 at 8, 1 at 11, and 1 at 16. Now you'll notice when you get a 4x5 step tablet from us, it explains the exposures. What you want to do is take your meter. Hold on a sec. Let me grab my meter. You want to set your meter on ASA 100, and you want to go to the exposure value scale. And what I do is I take the dome off, take a reading, and what I'm looking for typically for an ASA 100 film, I do EV4 at 0.4 of a second, and for a 400 speed film like T-Max 400 or HP5, I will do EV2 at 0.4 of a second. Now what I could do for people who want to calibrate their enlarger for their light source, what I could do is expose a few sheets of film so that you have film that's already been exposed to a calibrated light source that you could use as a standard. Or if you're doing roll film, I could expose a couple of sheets of roll film for you, and this way you've got a starting point. So once you process the film that I send you, then you could use that as a standard and adjust your light source accordingly so that you get the same density readings. Okay, just to go over everything, if you're doing 4x5 or sheet films up to 8x10, all you need is a 4x5 step tablet. If you're going to do 4x5 and let's say 120 or 35 or any kind of roll films, you want to get an extra 4x5 step tablet, cut it in half, tape it together. So with this you could do 35, 120, any film 4x5 through 8x10. And as I say, you just got to get a paper bag from the supermarket to use as a mask around your film. Now again, the readings that we have are usually 0.4 of a second at either EV2 for a 400 speed film or EV4 for a 100 speed film. And as I say, what I could do is expose either sheet film, any size you want, or roll film, and any specific film that you need. So I can help you with all that, so you've got a standard. If this is like too much work to do, we have a film testing service. I can help you with that. I can, expose the film, do all the plotting and everything else for you. That's no big deal at all for me. And thank you for watching. And also, if you need help with film and developer combinations, please drop me an email or give me a call so I can help you. And if you do want to see something about different film and developer combinations, you might want to review Volume 9, Issues 1 and 2 in the DMAX newsletter.